the screen share button and whatever
Yeah.
window, whatever program you're using. And
Okay.
I love that you actually jumped right in there in the middle of the chat and weren't shy about I need this now. Like that's teaching people to be masters, like that's part of it. You have to be able to protect your time.
Oh,
So
yeah. And you got to speak up. I mean, people get, even I was getting a bit frustrated with a bit of lack of communication, but it's in like, look, you got to let people know.
yeah.
They're not mind readers. You got to tell them, hey, I'm over here. So this is good. I really I didn't take the decision lightly. So, but we can get into all of that um, from here. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let's start with images.
Okay. Do you want me to start my screen share now?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to start with that one. You see it?
Awesome. Okay, so you've seen a couple of these now, right?
Oh, yeah. I've been
Okay.
watching, Ray's was so helpful to me. So even though he was excited to leave the uh, cohort, he's actually a really good match for me. He's in Australia. He's into doing the books. He's focused a little bit more on landscape and travel. So he knows now that, like, just keep communicating because, yeah. Anyway, that was a helpful critique to me, what you had to talk to him about.
Yeah, and he actually, when we were talking about it, like he did not want to leave the cohort because he loves all of the people he's connected to. He just wasn't growing. Um,
Yes, which
so,
is which is why it was a very difficult decision for me, with the offer to join Robbins. But then the thought of taking the time to acclimate into their social sphere, I realized was also going to take time. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the thing.
okay, so tell me a little bit about the image and what you love and you don't love, and then I'm gonna grade it for you.
Okay. So this is my most recent edit and composite. Um, I'm happy with the way it turned out. And it was a concept that grew from this giant wish that I found. And then I thought, wouldn't it be awesome if I put a little person on the wish and went with that thought? Um, it's about 5 frames put together, and I got into some new Photoshop tools using like Puppet Warp, and was able to get the chains to line up here quite well. And I'm happy with it, but I struggled a little bit up here in the corner with separating out in these fine lines in the wish and getting the color and the blend mode right. So that's an area where hopefully some people in our cohort can help me understand the Photoshop tools a little bit better going forward, because a lot of the work I'm doing at the moment is going to become composite heavy.
So, what is it that you feel that you didn't quite get with that?
I think I got it right. Just in my opinion, I'm happy with the image, but I struggled up here in the right corner with these little extra wishes that are kind of like in my mind. She's kind of following those wishes.
Okay.
Um, it was a struggle to separate them from their background and get them to blend coherently into the image. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think you accomplished that beautifully, actually. Um, and
Oh
this
yeah,
is
I worked at it.
this is
Really.
one of my favorite photos, not just of yours, but in the cohort right now. I just love the concept of it. It's what I imagine children's dreams look like. Um, and I just think it's beautifully done. I love the silhouette of it. I think it works really, really well as a composite, but I also love the color toning of it and the gentleness. and like almost like ocean-like quality of the color fade. That said, right around the wish that she's swinging on in sort of like the top projection of that, and it may be, it's always hard when it's digital because it may be my screen, but you have like this green yellow color scheme, and then right in the center of some of the wisps is like this red yellow.
Right here.
Yeah, and it's
That's
the only
a
place that it
yeah.
shows up.
That's a
Um,
little rainbow. So it's like a lens. It's actually a lens flare that caught the light in one of the images.
okay.
Do you think it's
Um,
distracting or?
I do. I just think that it looks like an accident. It doesn't look like it was on purpose or meant to do, and it kind of breaks up the color a little bit for me when it's such a smooth transition everywhere else. It just kind of ebbs and flows into itself, and that's the only spot that you're picking up these other colors. So I think it just makes it noticeable.
Hmm,
Um, but
okay.
I love the concept of it. It's a little bit heavier weighted to the top because of the darker color, and then you kind of got a little bit of it in the bottom corner with the second wish. So
Down here.
I almost feel like it should be just a little bit more vignetted along the sides and the bottom just to take it in just a little bit because your eye's always attracted to the lightest part. So I feel like that being the girl in the center of the flower, that would really help to just draw you in and keep you in right there. It would be like a visual gravitation. But I'm really pulling it apart, and I just love this image and think that it's a work of art. This is totally something that I could see in an art gallery on grand scale and to the smaller scale of like on postcards and artist cards. And I think it's really well done. I just think it's a fantastic concept. So I'm going to give you a 3. I think it's a really exceptional image.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm wanting to create a whole series around this. So yeah, I would love to get it into a gallery or um, into even a storybook form. I think it could. There's a whole story there that could be brought out. Yeah. Should we go to the next one?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is a self-portrait from, I did a project last year on Google Plus with there's always an opportunity if you're going to try self-portraits on Google Plus. There's great groups there for self-portraiture. And one of my projects, I think you know that I'm a musician as well, and I'm recording an album. So one of the things I want to do with that project is create my own cover art and create a book that goes, rather than just your liner notes, a booklet that goes with the record. And I thought it would be cool if I could do self-portraits. I've got very clear concepts in mind, and it's one of the reasons I accepted Natalie's invitation, because the compositing involved with the images in my mind is quite it's achievable, but it's beyond my current Photoshop skills, some of it. So this was before I started Photoshop. I just put it in here as a marker of where I was and where I want to go from here. I'm pretty happy with it, except that I tend to, with the camera I tend to get a lot of noise in these lower light areas, and that's probably a technical skill that I can, even if I drop my ISO, I can still get some noise in there, so I probably need a better technical understanding of portraiture. And I achieved what I set out to achieve with the kind of dreamy, lost in thought idea. That's what I was going for. If I was to nitpick, I'd just kind of anally would want to fix the curtain. But I didn't have that. I didn't really have that skill at the time. I couldn't be bothered. With the 52 project, it's you put it up every week and you're done with it and you move on to the next thing. But that kind of annoys me, this bit. I want to iron the curtain. All right. Yeah.
Um, this is a really beautiful self-portrait too. I love that the lighting is high contrast but not harsh. And I love that the thing is the robe is see-through and we can see the line of your leg, and I think that's really sexy. It's a little bulky and it's accentuated by the fact that you're kind of leaning over. So I think it's the line of her back, and because there's no separation between your upper body and your leg, that it's making you look a little wider than you are because you're very slender. Um, but you,
Well, that's debatable. I could be
well,
hiding a whole
because
caboose in there.
your eye reads based on the information. So right now, your the midsection of your body goes from the edge of the fabric all the way to basically where your thighs start to part, which is
From
very,
here, from
yeah,
here to there. Yeah, yeah. I can see how that looks really, because all of this is not my body.
right.
All of this fabric.
So it totally works on your leg because of the lighting and the sheer. We can still see the very full line of your leg. So if we didn't have that and that was all solid, same thing, you'd have no figure whatsoever. But your leg looks totally sexy, even though it's behind the fabric because we can see the light, but we didn't get that because of how thick it is and because of the direction of the light and the thing. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit of separation. And some of that is really easy. Like if you had pulled your elbow up to your knee and put like a little triangle of negative space between, between the side of
In
your
here.
body. Yeah,
Okay.
between the side of your body and the bottom of your arm, it would have just given a break to go, okay, this isn't all body, this is arm up here, and then here's the body. You just need visual breaks in that a little bit. But you're kind of fading into yourself. You have this like little marshmallow effect going on with the body where, where the front of your body is kind of fading into the sleeves of the robe, which are fading right into the thigh and running down, and the light course follows that down the outside of your arm and then to the front of your knee, so it all kind of blends in. um,
See.
that said, I think that your emotion and your facial expression is so potent and just lost in thought, but in an emotional thought, that a lot of people wouldn't notice that because they would just be drawn into the face. The lighting is lovely. I love the windows and the texture that that gives them and the architecture of it. I agree with you about the curtain. That's driving me crazy too. Um, so I would either continue the line all the way up so that you have that darker line, or I would take it down because that would make
Could
me.
you crop it in?
You
Or do you
could
think,
actually, and it was funny because I was actually putting my hand over it to see. I actually think that it would work perfectly fine with just the windows and without the curtains.
uh-huh. Okay.
So something to think of. But if you're thinking of it for print, specifically for your album, but in general, you have to be careful how close you are to the edge of
Hmm.
the
Yeah, no,
photo.
I wouldn't use this one for, this is going back a year ago. This was before I bought a remote control, so I'm not impressed with myself, but there was a lot of effort in a 10-second window to set it up, get the shot right. I think I only did four or five frames in total to get what I was achieving, and then
Right.
to get up in this space and get the mood I was after in 10 seconds was a win for me.
Yeah,
and
bravo.
then just,
Because I
and then
can.
just to move on. So now I have a remote. That makes things a lot easier. Um, and and I'm curious if there are Photoshop skills that I would play and practice with this edge here, because this is where you're saying a lot of this bulk comes on this fabric here.
Oh yeah,
Could
if
that,
I was retouching it, I would have totally liquefied the crap out of that to pull it in. Because
yeah.
it's
So that
not like you can't over liquefy bodies, but that's not the body, it's the fabric. Like your waistline is in way further than that fabric is showing it off to be, so it wouldn't look
yeah,
photoshopped.
it comes in like I don't think any of this is. I
It's
think
not.
me
None of
like
that is your
here.
body. It's
Yeah,
just, but it looks like it is because of the weight.
right.
So yeah, I would absolutely go in. That is a little bit advanced with the liquefy and the warp because you have so many lines that you're fighting with, and you see like bad Photoshop, like it'll start to pull the curtain and the lines will get wavy with the stained glass
Mm,
stuff. So you'd have to actually like go in and reconstruct part of that. Um,
yeah.
so it would take a minute, but you could totally do it. But all of
Well,
that
that's
said,
a skill. Okay, yeah.
yeah, all that said, I still think it's a beautiful photograph, so I'm going to give you a commendable. I don't think it quite hit the exceptional mark, but I do think that it's a really beautiful portrait,
All right,
especially because you
thanks.
did it in 10 seconds running back and forth.
Yeah, well, when you got kids, you got to get stuff done, you know.
Yeah.
I don't have time to muck around. But that is a skill going forward that if anybody in my cohort is listening, especially I think like maybe Monica has the skills to teach me how to liquefy things, you know, that's going forward something I want to do. So this image, I like to play with texture a lot. And some of the images I create them with the foresight of having them printed on canvas. So
Hmm.
this one I had printed on like a Z-clay on canvas, and it worked really well because of the texture I added to bring out like this is all one shot. The birds were added in to help the story of that sense of freedom, and I just felt it was a bit boring, so I tried adding them in. I mean, I can see how you feel about that, but the only thing that troubled me about this image was kind of losing her foot. In an ideal world, her foot would be up on the line here. It got kind of lost there. And I was also worried before sending it to print this I
Yeah, the
wasn't sure if
banding.
this was banding or not. I mean, in print it looks fine, but I'd like to, going forward, have a better understanding of how my images are going to print, and what to look for before sending it off to for production.
Yeah, and I definitely do see banding, and you're absolutely right because I've seen it in some of my photos on the screen where once it's printed you can't tell, and I've actually had other ones that I've sent to print and I haven't noticed the banding until it's in print. Some of that is the camera quality and the settings that you're at. It tends to become more prominent the more you retouch the image. So because you have a lot of texture and you change the color a lot, that may have brought it out where it wasn't necessarily visible in the original image. We were
I
talking about textures earlier with Agnes and the fact that she probably shouldn't have put it in on the one shot. This is the first photo that I've seen that I feel like the texture really accentuates the image instead of distracting from it. Because I see a lot of people that overlay textures to help cover up the fact that it's a mediocre photograph, and this is not. Um, so it's very well done to the point that it's enough to accentuate the image and add a lot of character and a lot of emotion to the shot without overpowering the photograph, which I think is the balance. Um, Love the birds, love her. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of separation in her front arm. I don't know what she's doing there because she's so far away. So there's just this thing, like, I'm not sure. Is she holding something to her? Is she in a cast because she fell out of one of those trees and broke her arm? If she had been, if the hand had been forward or if there had been a little bit of space, there would be a little more body language. So again, same thing. It's just because it's
hmm.
a silhouette, we can't tell
Yeah.
exactly what's going on with her.
Well, I now have the skills to Frankenstein an image. So what I would do now, because this is going back a while, I would look for, because I got a whole sequence of her running along here. I would look for one where the arm was separated and composite that in.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good feedback because I
Um,
can see that.
But other than that, I really love this. This is not a photograph though. This is digital artwork. Um, even if the foundation of it is a photograph, there's so much retouching done to it at this point that it's not a photograph anymore. It looks more like a painting, or like a charcoal um,
Hmm.
sketch, which is not a hit on it at all. I love it. I think it works beautifully like that. This is by far a work of art, which is what I'm always looking for. So, you lose a little bit of points for the banding, and I think that she could have been a little stronger in the image, but I still think it's a beautiful shot. So I'm going to give you commendable. I'm going to give you 2 points, but it's really like 2.5.
Okay, so this is the conundrum for me, and one of the things that I kind of think I need to define is a lot of my work is, I kind of came to photography with just the iPhone because I was frustrated with not having the space to create big canvas.
Hmm.
And then I found just how wonderful it is to have all of these tools in a laptop or my phone. And so my photography is really, it sounds wanky to say it, but it really, it's kind of more like artography. I
Ooh,
I
I
like
like
to
that term,
I
artography.
yeah, I'm an artographer. I like blurring the lines between photography and painting. That's
Hmm.
just something I enjoy.
I do too. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And you tell a story with it. Really, the bottom line is that in camera, in Photoshop, texture overlays, or straight out of camera, whatever it is, as long as the image moves the viewer, and you are accomplishing that in every shot, so it's a success.
Oh, cool. That's good to hear.
Okay, so tell me about this one.
So this one is a photograph. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's just it's a photo. Um, I'm quite happy with it. I love this Oculus that I bought. They're really fun, um, just to play around with. But the reason I'm sharing it here is that I do a fair amount of landscape. So I wanted to share something that was landscapey. But also, I have a question about making books and selling artwork when I'm including something like this that is iconic. Do I need to seek permission or get some sort of legal documentation before producing a book or selling a print or cards? Um, or am I liable for some trouble down the track if I don't do that?
I'm gonna refrain from answering that because it varies by state, let alone by country.
Okay.
So I'm not sure exactly what the rules are where you are. But we can definitely look into that. In general, the idea is that um, if you're on the property, like if you were in the opera house, then you
Mm-hmm.
would probably be required to have some sort of release, or they could contact it. But people do street photography and sell photos of the city all the time without having it. So, on one hand, is it iconic? Yes. On the other hand, it's there. Like, you're taking a picture of the sand and it's in the background. So I don't I don't actually know. I'm gonna look into that because that's a really good question. I'm not sure exactly what the rules are, so that's a really good topic.
Yeah, well, I know that's why I shared the picture because obviously, I do a lot of Opera House and Bridge, do a lot of Sydney, um, and I just came back from 6 weeks of traveling. I did a lot of travel photography, so that's uh, an area of photography I really enjoy. And I'm starting to have a body of work that is great enough to put into a Sydney book. But I know the Eiffel Tower, for example, there's strict laws with that, and I'm pretty sure the Sydney Opera House has there there are like it's like getting a model release. It's like I've used the Opera House as my model, and if I make money from like I can share the image, but it's a gray area for me that I want to clarify, and I thought it would be helpful for other people that might have the same question. I just think it's a useful topic to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm pretty sure like you can take photos of whatever, but once you start making money off of it, I think it depends too. Like, you know, it has to not only be that you're making money off of it, but that you're making money off of it because what it is. So the argument could be made for this shot that people are buying it for the crystal orb,
Mhm.
and that just happens to be in the background, but it's not the star of the shot. However,
Mhm.
I'm also a big, big believer that you should always just cover your bases. And actually, in the convergence group, the person to talk to about it may be Ray, because
Yeah,
he
that's why I
knows.
told him. He left us, but he was there because we're supposed to. We're Australian. We're on the same page. So he ran away, but I'm still around, and it's good that there's the convergence chat because I think there's also some Sony shooters over there that could help me with some of my technical aspects of my camera, and that's handy.
Yeah, so I think in general the rule is to check and see because I think certain buildings and structures are actually like they're copyrighted, just like your works of art are, because the
Mhm.
architecture is in itself a kind of art. So it would make sense that really iconic places like the Sydney Opera House, which is probably the most famous building in Australia, and like the Eiffel Tower, in France, and probably like the Statue of Liberty in America, like those kind of things will be copyrighted pieces of art. So you would probably have to have some sort of release or pay royalties or something like that. So it may just be on a case to case basis, but we'll go back to that and look that up.
Okay.
That said, I think that this is a really lovely shot. Um, I think the composition of the shot is really beautiful, but I think you have this element of magic with this sort of like almost crystal ball kind of feel. And the texture of the rocks and the coloring of the sun, and you've got that little light flare on it. So I actually feel like having the opera house and stuff in the background brings you back to reality a little bit, and this shot might actually be stronger if it was taken somewhere more less well known and kind of in nature where it would have almost an ethereal kind of feel to it.
Hmm.
Just a
Yeah, well,
thought.
that's one of the music project I'm working on. I don't really want to talk about it publicly at the
Okay.
moment. I'm happy to talk to you about it, but this this is a practice for this is going to figure into some of my self portraits because it supports the overall concept of the album. So
Okay.
exactly that, and being able to successfully mask out the background and put that, say, for example, in the palm of my hand is an idea that I have to capture an image within it that then doesn't have the background, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
and I'm super excited to see that version of it as well. But I think because it's just in focus enough that anybody that knows what it is and recognizes it immediately, that it kind of competes with this very unique element that you have by having this crystal ball essentially. So there's like two competing stories and you're not sure which one it is. So there's a little bit of a disconnect for me in the idea of the shot, but I still
Yep.
really, really love the concept of it. And I love the contrast between like the orange and brown and warm tones and like the green blue of the water. Um, so
Yeah,
I'm
one of
going to give you
the
two. I think it's commendable, but I
uh,
don't think it's exceptional because I think the one that you're going to create as the main one is going to be the exceptional one.
I did like the concept I had with this, of course, is that living in Australia, we're down under, and I liked the idea of capturing this image upside down, and I wonder if cropping it and flipping it would be a I don't know, I might try that just to crop it square
Hmm.
and flip it so this was like hanging so you saw this right side up. I don't know. Anyway, I'm thinking out loud. we'll go to the next one. So this this image this is kind of a style that I've become known for. People like this style. But this image in particular has brought up a few issues for me that, again, you may not be able to answer now, but that I think in the Arcanum experience, it would be very helpful to me to have them understood.
Okay.
Technically, I set out to do this style. So it's one of the first images where, after experimenting with the processing, I went out and sought a graduated water like this for the color, and I sought out figures in the distance that I wanted to capture, and then I brought out these details. Mm-hmm. It got a little bit messy over here. I now am a more skilled technically in using masking and layers in Photoshop than I was at this point. I also think, yeah, I love the body shape here, but again, I think this one got a little bit lost. It could have been more defined. Mm-hmm. But the reason I shared it here today is because this is one of those pictures that caught a wave. And so you lose track of kind of honest feedback. I think it's had like 50 million views, and Google it's a theme on Gmail. Mm-hmm. So like if you have Gmail, you can use this as a theme. Right. And I felt like, and it got stolen, like, you know, over and over and over again, people were using it without the rights to use it. So in a way, it's like when you post something online, it goes on a journey of its own.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have to let it go. I can't fix it. I can't come in and change this little bit here that pisses me off. And it's not only out there, but people are using it, and that takes up my time, and they don't respond to you, so it brings up the issues of legality. The other question I have is, going down the fine art path, does this image lose value as a saleable work of art, or is its value increased by having some sort of popularity? And I guess that's the main thing I want to kind of get my head around going forward, is how to know what market value my artwork has, and if sharing some images online is, maybe some images shouldn't be shared online and they should be kept exclusively for collectors and put in a gallery first. Another question that's brought up is that everybody wants a tutorial on how to do this technique, and the advice I had from another fine artist was like, why would you sell your secret sauce? And then the other argument is like, put it out there, give people the ability to try it themselves, and they wouldn't do it the same way you've done it, and it's just, it's a free world. Share the knowledge, sell the tutorial. I know it's a lot of gabbing, but I think you understand what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are actually a little less concerned with scoring points on your portfolio than you are on the grander scale of how that's benefiting you artistically. So I'm actually just going to roll with you on this one and say that this is an incredible image. I understand completely why it went viral, and I love the concept of it as a whole. I almost want it to kind of follow suit, though, because you have all these, like, this linear kind of drag to it, but then it becomes very sharp and very much like a normal photograph with the landscape, but you don't quite have that down at the bottom. So I almost feel like the lines with the sand may be a little bit too prominent when they almost look like they should be fading back into reality a little more, and maybe not the
Over
whole way
here.
down. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe not the whole way down, but just right at the line of the horizon of the land or the mountain, whatever
In
the
here.
forest
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe just a little. I
Yeah, well
agree with
that's
you about the little boy or girl down there, like just body language, even as small as they are, it's just epic. You don't have that as much with the second figure, which I'm guessing is probably a parent, but at the same time, parents don't usually have the same energy as children, so I think it works. It tells the story. Um,
well, this is a sibling for sure because the adults were much larger, but they got wiped out. the, the title of this one is Children at the Shore, and it kind of spawned a series. And definitely now, at the point where I am, because this is one of the earliest works in the series, I'm now bringing out features more successfully. Like I brought out these realistic features, but now I say might capture more of their shadows realistically and a little bit of the sand or an ocean wave and just feature a little bit of something. And yeah, the editing process, like you see these banding striations here, I'm getting a bit more successful at the flow of that.
yeah, and I do agree with you. I think a little bit to the left, that it would be stronger if it was just the darker line. That gray that fades out, I think, looks a little smudged in comparison because the lines are so
Mm.
sharp
Clean
the rest of
here,
the way
and
through.
then
Yeah, clean. And so that looks a little muddy by contrast. So I totally understand what you're saying there. That being said, if this is one of your most well-known images and you're looking to sell it as a fine art print, you ever notice how Disney will release movies that are 25 years old, but they're new digitally remastered and they show like the color punch and change because they've been fixed? That's what this is. If you want to sell it as a fine art print, the very, very well known, Google acclaimed, photo that has 500 billion views or whatever has now been completely digitally reprocessed to be even more epic and profound by artist Gretchen, Chappelle, and blah blah blah, and and you word it really well, and is being sold in a limited edition print run of 500 copies. Um,
yeah.
So, one of the most well-known photographers and highest paid photographers is our headmaster, Trey. And he shares every single image online. That has never, ever, ever stopped him from making money. And the bottom line is that yes, if your work is good, people are going to steal it. I waited for the day. I was so excited when somebody sent me something and was like, I found your images on somebody's site. I was like, yes, I'm good enough that people are stealing me. Because if they're not doing that, that means that you're not moving people. And it's the same thing. Like I never really, like, don't get me wrong, like I'll drop them a line and say, hey, you can't do that. um and I had people that were downloading my book onto like BitTorrent sites and stuff like that, and I wasn't making money from that. So I do my thing, but I never get as upset as other people do, because I remember some questionable years in my early college thing where we were sharing a lot of music. um and the kids were watching movies with their uncle the other day that I'm pretty sure fell off a truck somewhere. Um, and I don't do it, but I also understand that, like, people, it's going to happen. Like, if you don't want anybody to touch or put Instagram filters or, do anything else, don't put it online, you know? But with your goals and where you're going, like, we're working on a music career, you have an album coming out, you want to be known as an artist. This has been seen and shared millions of times. There are people that cannot buy that kind of visibility. So I absolutely see it as a good thing. But I could totally see you releasing, say, 25 images in a collection in digital and going, by the way, the book includes 10 never before seen images by artist Gretchen. when you purchase her new DVD. So you can sell it both ways. Absolutely.
Hmm. Okay. Well,
And they
that's
both have their value.
I I heartached over the decision to stay, and today is like I got my receipt for for the new pay cycle, and I'm glad I stayed because I this is the focus area for me at the moment. It's like I built the website last year. I'm panicking because the the bandwidth is getting hit off the Richter scale, and I'm not proud of how it is at the moment, right? So the website and monetization of the website and being really clear about how I can get those income threads built um, is very important to me right now. And I think you've got a great savvy for marketing and business planning. So that's where you can help me going forward for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So don't worry about the income. Worry about what it is that you want to do. And then the income profit follows passion.
I've
That's the
been
first one.
believing in that for like 3 years, lady. I'm on it.
I
But
know.
I also live in Sydney, where you know it's the most one of the most expensive cities in the world, and I've got kids asking me every day for money, and so I'm I'm still following my passion. I haven't run out and got a job, which in one sense I probably should have as soon as I got back from traveling. Um, but I'm just like hanging in there with this bit of faith that if
Okay,
I
great. So let's
keep,
make this your job. What is it that you want to make money doing?
I want to make money from my website. So a lot of artists in the past, particularly musicians, but also painters and even photographers, um, they never, I've got musician friends with top, chart selling records, and they're still teaching piano or whatever to make a living. So we're in this new kind of a frontier for creatives where you can actually own the rights to your work and sell the work from your own e-commerce site.
Hmm.
And for the past probably 3 years, I've wanted to open up income streams via my website. So books, CDs, downloadable music. Um, I come from a filmmaking background, so I'm I'm happy to share and give my pictures away essentially on the internet. But at the end of the day, there has to be something for people when they come to my website that they can have that's in physical form, if that makes sense. So my priority at the moment is converting my digital work into physical products, or at least also downloadable, things that you can have on your device.
Okay, great. So we're in a precarious place right now financially, where because you're thinking about getting a job that you don't want. So that's always the sign of I need money. So how much money are you looking to make a month?
My rent alone is 3 grand a month.
Okay.
So I really need to be making about $200 a day. And that's just my income. Like, my husband, so I need to be making about $200 a day.
Okay. Well, let's not do it in a day thing as much as like a monthly thing, because you're not in a job that you're getting paid by the hour, you're getting paid by the product.
Okay.
So people aren't going to pay you by the hour to create your art or sell, sing your heart out. You're going to get paid by the DVD and the painting. So
One thing I have set up, and it's just for me, and you would understand this, and this is another reason I'm staying on with you as my mentor for now, is that you're a parent and your husband is traveling, cousin's away, so there's a lot to juggle. So for me, a lot of the things that I think are successful avenues are set up, but I haven't completed them. I haven't followed them through. So there's a site called Patreon where people can become your patrons. And I think that would be an immediate source of income where people can opt in for $1 an image or a dollar amount a month. And that is, it's like crowdfunding. It's like ongoing crowdfunding. The other thing that I put on hold while I was traveling, because I had the reality check that running a crowdfunding campaign while you're have limited Wi-Fi is a really bad idea. But I have a team set up to do the crowdfunding project for the record that I'm already in the process of recording. So the potential there is great, but it's not immediate. It's there are concrete steps that need to be taken to get to the point where that actually materializes.
Absolutely.
So immediately with this, I think I don't know if you saw the post I made in our cohort at the moment, but there's this big huge tragedy in our community. So my immediate thought was to have a print sale or auction, and this is where I spend my money. This is where I buy my food, where I buy my clothes, where I do, sit at the cafe or whatever. So I thought to have a print sale or auction, and I would donate a percentage of the proceeds of the profit to these funds that have been set up for these people in the community who, there's like 11 businesses that have been completely obliterated. So that's something that I could do immediately. I had a print auction before I went overseas, and it was somewhat successful, but really I quite literally failed at making it reach its potential. And so I'd like guidance on that from you, on how to.
You're a lot like me in the fact that you're an artist at heart. You're not a photographer, you're not a singer, you're not a painter. You are an artist and you express yourself. If I took away your camera, you would pick up brushes. If I took away your brushes, you would sing your little heart out. If I, weighed you down with laryngitis, you would, write verses on the wall. You just need to express yourself. The problem with being multilingual artistically is that you tend to have ADD as a side effect of that, which I'm obviously not speaking from personal experience at all. So essentially what you're doing right now is spinning plates. Have you ever seen anybody do that?
Oh yeah, I've got so many plates going. It's just ridiculous.
Right.
And I'm aware of it. I watch myself. I observe myself living, and I see what I'm doing, and I know that I have to focus. I know that I have to look at one thing at a time to fully accomplish it.
The thing with this is that you have a couple of different plates that you are equally invested in right now. But the problem is that you do actually have to spend the time to get the one spinning before you can walk away with it. Otherwise, it won't stay up long enough to become self-sustaining. Once you get that one going, then you can do the same thing with the second one and then come back and just give the first one a little tap and then move over to the third one and pull it up. So it's not deciding which one. You do not have to specialize and pick which thing. You just have to pick which one first. So you're in the middle of recording your album. That's obviously a big thing. What's the timetable for that? What are you doing with that?
I'm back in the studio with my producer on the 31st it's end of October. So,
okay, so you have like a month and a half that you're not doing anything with music, right?
No. Well, it's funny, like everything is kind of is very much merged together. So this morning, a friend is a cinematographer, He's a great Australian cinematographer, and he is on hiatus, and he said he'll film my crowdfunding project for the album. He'd love to do it. So how fantastic is that? So that is my next step. And in 2 weeks' time, I start working with the team that I've started to build around the crowdfunding campaign for the record. So every day, you know, I need to put attention into the songs. You know, I need to practice as a musician, as a singer. It's a muscle that you have to keep exercised. But I don't like to do that all day. You know, editing photos and producing the photos relaxes me as well. So that's something that I use. I'm never bored because one supports the other. But those are the only two areas of creative focus at the moment. But I have the business element, and then I have the family to look after, and then I have my health, which health is always the #1 priority. So there are things that I have to do at the moment to stay healthy, or none of it happens.
Yeah, funny that you listed it last, though.
Well, I didn't mean to list it last. It was just kind of like a wandering trajectory that we went on. And I think that we're kind of lost in conversation now, but
okay.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. We need to focus on this one particular plate and get that spinning really well so that I can get momentum in another area.
So it seems like you are actually committed right now to the album, where you already have strings tied, but the album is sort of a long-range goal that isn't going to provide for you immediately. So that's a problem. That's conflict. So
right.
Balancing the time that you're putting in with the music and the time that you're putting in with family, how much time is that leaving you to the artistry to be able to monetize that? How many hours can you put in with that?
So my day, you know, I kind of break my day down into chunks. I try to do a 45-minute block of productivity where I eliminate distractions. You know, so I give and then 15 minutes of transition in between. So obviously, first thing in the morning, I try to, you know, do my morning routine, you know, which involves looking after your health. And then I look after my family. I take them to school, and then when I come back home, I generally have a 45-minute window to focus on the online aspect of what I'm doing, which is sort of blogging and website and posting online. And then, so I probably have like 6 windows, productivity windows, and I try to divide them by subject. Some of them cross over. Either early in the morning or in the evening, I like to go out with my camera, and sometimes I multitask that by bringing one of the kids along.
How is any of that making you money?
None of it's making me money. That's the problem. Okay. That's why I'm here.
So
this is my block, you know. This is where I need to change.
Productivity doesn't count as productivity if there isn't an end result. Being busy is not good enough. So the first thing to do is to stop spending your time on things that don't make you money, which means the first thing to do is take all of that time that you're separating to do all of these things and figure out exactly how you want to make your money. You know, saying I want to make money off my website is great, but what does that mean? What are people buying? Are they buying limited edition prints? Are they buying books? What are you selling on your website?
Well, the most immediate, I have a SmugMug site, and that's a decision that, you know, if at the moment not a lot gets sold through SmugMug because I'm in Australia. It's an American site, even though a lot of my audience is in America. I haven't successfully probably promoted or marketed that you can buy prints. I think also a lot of people online are fellow photographers and creatives who aren't necessarily, you know, the people I'm engaging with are maybe more similar to me and not my customers. They're my peers, if that
Okay.
makes
Who's
sense.
your customer?
My customer is somebody that wants fine art. So the most immediate way to make money, I think, is to promote the prints within my local area.
Okay. Which prints?
So like, here's a sample. If I can. So I've had these. I don't know if you can see.
Where are they available for people to see? How are they getting promoted?
Well, the images are on my Smug Mug site, but I think some of their appeal is lost in their online presentation. I don't think you can fully appreciate how beautiful they are online. There's something about the paper and the ink that in reality is more compelling than just digitally. Does that make sense?
So how about tomorrow, instead of doing your usual productivity, I want you to, take a trip, go out and with your health, go buy yourself like the best latte you've ever had in your life, and go find 25 places that you can approach about hanging your work in their stores or their shops or their restaurants or a hotel, places that people can actually see your work. If you want to sell to your local community, they're in your local community. You have direct access to them. So where is your client at during the day? What are they buying? Where do you want to see your prints up at? What else are they doing? Are they in a bookstore looking at travel photography and they see this beautiful photo of these kids on the beach that is so unique? And unlike anything else. Who is that for? Are they all wall prints? Are you also selling postcards? Are you going to put a fine art book together that you can
Yeah, that's all listed, like the cards, the books. Even people have asked to have shoots. So I could easily produce images like that of people's children, in a day shoot out at the beach.
Well, that's a totally different thing. Are you looking to get into the portraiture side of it where your client is actually the model?
It's a possibility. It's not one that I had, I took people who ask now, so I have charged people and done images for their website or their portraits. I don't mind doing it for friends, but I don't want to have a portrait studio. That's not me. I'm happiest out discovering something and creating something kind of.
So is it the kind of thing that if you're going to create these beautiful art books and you're going to create all this awesome artwork that goes with your album, that you could come up with the concepts for the shoot and then do like essentially a casting call for clients where this is what I'm doing, this is the concept for the shot, I'm shooting this beautiful little girl swinging from a wishy, and I need an 8-year-old model, and in exchange, for the $500 sitting fee or whatever, this is the concept for the shot, and you get, one of the limited edition art prints kind of thing.
No, I see that there's potential to do shoots, especially coming into summer, for families who want something unique for their wall. The portraiture and the album art I'm doing is self-portraiture.
Okay.
It's a separate project.
Okay.
I was approached by a company about turning my images into cards, which was tempting because their reach is much greater than my reach. But in reality, I would see a very, very, very small percentage. And I don't want to give away the rights.
So then
necessarily
on your own. You just had somebody tell you that they were willing to buy the collection because they believe that they can make a ton of money off of your art as greeting cards?
Yeah, like Yeah, so that's been something that I've wanted to do for a while, is to have the cards available on my website, books available on my website,
How
you know,
about
and then
everywhere else? You're very, very anchored into your website, which is great. You can have them there too, but how about having them on Amazon and in the local bookstores in the stationery section and in, your grocery store where they sell all the greeting cards where, your daughter
yeah,
can walk
the
down the
local
aisle and go,
news
that's my
agent.
mommy's card.
Yeah, that's absolutely. So yeah, the local news agent did uh, actually mention it too. I think part of my personal, it's not a problem, but blind spot is actioning thoughts like that. So that's where I want to move forward, is making those looking out, you know, looking outside the box and moving forward practically.
Okay,
So yeah,
so
you know,
here's what I think you should do. Let's start small. Um, and I want you to pick, say, your top 25 images that you think would make really beautiful greeting cards. And let's assume that what we're going to do is we're going to put them in packs as a collection of fine art greeting cards by artist Gretchen Chappelle. It'll be a collection of 25. There'll be blank note cards that people can buy as a set of stationery so they can write notes with whatever they want in them. Okay?
hmm
And then what we'll do is we will sell them in limited editions. So you are only going to print, say, 1,000 copies of this collection in this size ever. Now it's a commodity because it's a fine art thing. It's not available to everyone forever. Not everybody's going to have it. Okay, so maybe what we're going to do is we're going to have like a collection of 25 that you can just continuously sell, and then we'll work on making some connections. And I'll look into a couple of things because different country, different resources. But essentially, what you can do is you can sell them to bookstores. You can sell them to little gift shops, especially if you pick like all travel stuff, like the Sydney ones.
hmm
Um, they make great postcards to send home for people that are tourists and are changing. There's all these little things. Step outside of just the idea of the fine art, because every other fine artist is trying to find a benefactor and trying to sell to people that want art on their walls. Not everybody wants a big print, and you're competing with all these other people that may be more established, have agents, you know, already have their foot in the door, but there are thousands of people that need little things. That picture of the two kids on the beach is going to remind them of the first time they went to the beach with their big brother. Except for now they're 85 and it's his birthday, and they want to send him a card that'll think about that. You know, the emotional response is always good, and your work has a definitive emotional response that it inspires in the people that are viewing the image. And then the other thing that we can do is you know, like you were saying, a lot of the images have already been released online. Let's create some new work of a fine art limited edition that nobody's ever seen before. And you
Oh, I
won't
like that.
post you won't post the photos online, but you'll post a photo of the prints online.
Okay.
So it's like, the Instagram photo, like I do it all the time when I get the boxes in for Fineo, and then I tag my clients and go, it's coming, to get them excited. So you're like, I have a brand new limited edition collection, never before seen prints. I'm only selling 1,000 copies of them ever, you know? And you can do them like that. You could also do like an artist of the month club, like how they have wine of the month clubs where every month you get sent like a new wine. You could do like an artist of the month club where every month they get sent a postcard written by you that just says something like wish you were here, or here's my thought for the day. And at the end of, say, a year, they have a collection of 12 limited edition prints that nobody except for the people that are in your club have.
Wow, that's a
Meanwhile,
great idea.
yeah, and it can be the kind of thing too, like you could totally use this as cross promotion, like, say your new CD has 12 songs, every time they get a postcard, it also has the name of one of the songs on your album. and maybe a link that they can go download it, and only they can download it before it comes out public. Like there's so many different ways to start pulling. So then when your album does come out, you've already done all this pre-cross marketing that they didn't feel like they were getting spammed and like, hey, buy my stuff. It was like, oh, we're in the secret club. I already know what her album name is. You know, I know what she's doing right now. And it's just a little thing like, hey, writing you from the studio today, recording song 4. You know, like those little things to get them excited about it. They're just little carrots.
So that's what Trey's really done, is created a secret club with like a bunch of secret clubs.
Yeah.
Within the Arcanum.
Kind of. But like you have a really good following too. Anybody that has a check mark next to their name that says yes verified has like a ton of untapped potential. So some of it is just a numbers game. Like let's say 1% of people, if you put up the crowdsourcing, that 1% of people are going to donate. Well, the people that have 500 people are going to have significantly lower return than the people that have 5,000 than the people that have 5 million. So some of it's just a numbers game. If you can look at it and go, okay, 10% of my people are buying, then you know what you can sell, and you can pay attention to price points too and go, okay, well, if it's under $10 because I'm selling a card, you know, I'm getting a 15% return on my potential market that I have online and in person. If it's $150, I'm only getting 5%. If it's $1,000, I'm only getting 2%. And then you work on just putting out more free stuff like sharing your images and stuff to build your following so that that percentage goes up just because of the number of people. If you have 1% of 100, you only have one person. 1% of 1,000 is 10 people. So you already have the following. I have no problem with you continuing to release images, but I think that you can play on both because you have these iconic images that everybody knows, even if they don't know that they know it.
Right.
You know, like, oh, she released a new rendition. I have that as my wallpaper. You know? So
okay.
So I would start building on that. But I think with you being an artist and being a singer, one's going to start to feed the other, where people are going to come in and go, oh my God, I love her. Have you heard her new album? Have you heard this woman sing? She's just amazing. And then they're going to go, oh, she makes art too. I have an official photograph from her limited edition collection. Nobody else has it but me. You know?
Oh, you're a genius. Yeah. See, I don't think this is the element in my success that's missing because of my background. So I think that's the beauty of a system like this, that I know we're at the beginning and the road's a bit bumpy, but there's a genius in it, and that's why I want to be a part of it. And I'm really grateful that you have that quality, because it's an asset to me at this point in my journey, for sure. Absolutely. But I've got 3 minutes to get my ass 15 minutes away.
Okay.
I've already called someone and told them, please help, but I have to go.
Okay,
so,
no, that's part of the balance. So go do your thing, and we will check in soon, and you and I can do a one-on-one behind the scenes later, and we can talk a little bit more about what you're specifically looking for. Okay?
Okay.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Have fun. Drive safe. Bye.